All right, guys, now we're checking over this. So this is the check video. The first one says choose the best word to fill in the blank. So these were shades of meaning, different levels. They were all words that had to deal with bad, but like I said, different levels. I would say poor was the lowest level. It just means, it's not good. Unpleasant means it's not pleasant, it's bad. And horrible means it is the worst. It is the highest level of bad. So which one do you think makes sense here? The blank tasting cake was the worst I have ever eaten. Well, since it says worst I have ever eaten, I'm going to say that would be the highest level, horrible. So the horrible tasting cake was the worst I have ever eaten. Now this one we were labeling all the parts of speech. So I'm going to start by looking for my nouns, people, places, animals, things, and ideas. The reptiles living on Madagascar are unusual and unique. So reptiles are animals, that makes them a noun. Madagascar is a place, and I'll write it above it just so we don't get confused. So Madagascar is a place, so that makes it a noun. So those are all my nouns. Now I'm looking for verbs, action verbs, things I can do, and linking verbs that are in my song that connect the sentence together. So, living would be a verb. That is something you do, we hope. I don't see any more action verbs, but are there linking verbs? Let's sing our song. It goes, am, is, are. Hey, I see the word are. It is a linking verb, so now I've found both of my verbs. All right, next are pronouns. Remember, those are words that take the place of the names of nouns. Like he, she, it, they, them. I don't see any pronouns, but I checked for them, so I'm going to check it off. All right, what about adjectives, words that describe nouns? They can tell me what kind, how many, what color, what they're like. Now, usually adjectives come right in front of nouns, but remember they can also come at the end of a sentence. Unusual tells me about the reptiles, so it's going to be an adjective. It's describing the reptiles even though it's at the end. And unique is also telling me more about the reptiles, so it is going to be an adjective as well even though it's at the end of the sentence. So I found two adjectives. Check. And then adverb is a word that describes the verb. So since my verb is are, I don't have any words describing are. So I checked for an adverb, but I didn't really see one. So I'm going to check it off, and I'm finished with that one. Next is dialogue. Add punctuation to correct the sentence. Emma replied, I would love to play a game with you. So step one, I'm going to underline the words they said. What words did Emma say? She said, I would love to play a game with you. So, got step one. Step two is punctuation. So I'm going to look, what should go here in between the tag that tells me who's talking and the words she said? Well, since the tag is at the beginning, it's going to be a comma right here. Okay? And then I checked the end of the sentence. They've got a period for me. So now I've finished step two. In step three, I'm going to put quotation marks around the words that she said to show that those were the words she said. So I'm going to start right here after the comma where I started underlining. And I'm going to put them here at the end of the sentence behind the period where I stopped underlining. Those were the words that Emma said. All right, next, list the words with a prefix that means again. So we talked about in the guided lesson video, the prefix re means again. So if I look over here at my list, I see remind, I see repay. And those are all the ones that I see with the prefix re. So I have remind and repay. Which one of those words means to cause someone to remember something? So repay means to pay again. But remind means to mind again, to make it come to mind again. So to cause someone to remember something would be remind. All right, the next one was our skill from last week. Simple, compound, or complex. Remember, if it's simple, it has one independent clause, one complete sentence, or one complete thought. If it's compound, it has two complete sentences joined together by a fanboy conjunction. And if it's complex, that means it has one independent part, one complete part, and one dependent part, one incomplete part that needs more to make sense. So our sentence said, while people from all over like lemurs, they are only found on Madagascar. So my first step, I look for conjunctions. One of my fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. I don't see any of those. Or I look for a comma. Hey, I do see a comma right here. So since I see a comma, I'm going to check both sides. So this part says, while people from all over like lemurs. If someone came up to me and said, while people from all over like lemurs, I'm going to say, okay, what? I need more information for that to make sense. So that part is going to be dependent. Let's look at the other side. They are only found on Madagascar. So if we were talking about lemurs and someone came up to me and said, they are only found on Madagascar, that's a complete sentence. I would understand what they were saying. So this part is independent. So I had a dependent part and an independent part. That means this sentence is complex. Okay? Next, which word means to move someone to a lower position? So this had to do with our root from last week. M-O-T, M-O-B, and M-O-V all have to do with moving or movement. So I see M-O-T in promote, M-O-T in demote, and M-O-V in remove. So they all have to do with movement. But which one of these means moving them down to a lower position? Well, let's start with the word that I do know. Remove means to move again. So usually when I'm talking about removing something, I'm talking about taking it away. I didn't take this person away. I just moved them down to a lower position. So I'm going to scratch that one out. I'm going to eliminate that choice. So I have promote or demote. Well, promote usually means it's a good thing. You're moving them higher. But I actually moved them lower, so I'm going to eliminate that choice. Demote is talking about moving someone down. So demote would be to move someone to a lower position. Demote. And last, correct the sentence by adding a comma. Remember, the comma goes in between the city and the state. San Francisco, California is a nice place to live. So remember, I'm looking for proper nouns because cities and states are proper nouns. They're capitalized. So this is the first word of the sentence. So, it's capitalized. So I'm going to check it out. Francisco is capitalized and California is capitalized. Well, I know just from my background knowledge that California is a state. So this part in front, San Francisco, is the city, and California is the state. So my comma is going to go right here in between the city and the state. So hopefully you did pretty good on this one. Make sure you turn over to the back and do numbers 9 through 12 for cities and states.